Yeah, hi everyone. So I think in the last session, we have discussed about interfaces declaration, and we discussed about read-only properties in interface and why should we use interfaces. Then we discussed about how to implement the interfaces using the classes and read-only properties. So and also we discussed about inheritance in the interfaces like single inheritance, multiple inheritance and multi-level inheritance. So today let us discuss about access specifiers. Then we'll discuss about error handling. So what is the use of access specifiers? So generally, if you go to any object-oriented programming language, so access specifiers are going to control where can you access the properties or methods. So these access specifiers are applicable for both properties as well as methods. So in TypeScript, there are three access specifiers. One is public, private, and protected. So if you don't give any access specifier, that will be treated as default. So generally, where do we specify access specifiers? I think we have created so many classes and methods. So if I see here, yeah, we declared. So here, this employee is a class. So inside this class, we have employee ID and employee name. These are instance variables, or we can also call them as properties. Then there is a method display. So if you want to control the access of these properties or methods, suppose whether I want to access this display method in any other class or not. And even same these properties, do I need to provide access for these properties in other classes or in any other files? So if you want to control that access, we need to use the access specifiers. So public, private, and protected. So we can use these three access specifiers. So by default, if you don't specify any access specifier, it will be treated as public. So now let us discuss with an example like how we can utilize the access specifiers. Yeah, so I'm just creating a class user. So first I'll specify access specifier public. So let us discuss about public access specifier. So I'm creating a class user. So in the user class, so I'm declaring two variables. One is name and age. So name, so it is of type string. So then age, so it is of type number. Okay, so these are the two variables. So now we need to create a constructor. So to initialize those, so name string and age, it is a type number. So I would say this dot name equal to name. So this dot age equal to age. So we just declare two variables, name and age. So name is of type string, age is of number. So we are initializing those using the constructors. So now I'll create an object here. So for the class user, I'm creating an object. So let's say let the username is test user. So I'll create a new object, new user. So now let us pass like a name. So Rahul and age I'm passing 35 years. So now if I use this test.user, I can access both the variables age and name because by default both will be public. So a name I'm able to access using the object because I'm accessing them outside of your class. This is the class I have declared. So outside of the class I'm creating an object. So the object name is test user and using the test user object I'm able to access both the variables like a name and age. So now, yeah, if I access age name, it will print the name. So I would say console.log So I'm able to access name of the test user object. Again, age I'm able to access. So now let me run this. So both are same. If I give public here and if you don't give any access specifier, both are same. So let me run this. So I would say npx ts node. So access specifiers. Yeah, it will just run this and we'll get the output. So we are just printing the values. Since this is a public, so you will be able to access them outside of the class because those are public. So now let us create one more file. So now let us see how the private variables can be accessed. So now I'm going to create another file. So now let us discuss about private. So let me create the same class. So the same user class I'm creating here. So now I am declaring age as private. So now if you observe here, so I have declared the two variables, name and age. Name I have given as public, and whereas age I have declared as private. So as soon as you declare the private, here I'm getting an error because whenever you declare a variable or a method as private, that can be accessed only within that class. So a private variable cannot be accessed outside of the class. So this is the class where we declare the private variable, that is age. Now I'm trying to access private variable age outside of the class. So now I'm getting an error. So what's the error? Age is private and only accessible within the class. So now how you can access this? So now I'll create a method here, get age. So here I can print this console.log this dot age. So now, uh, so I'm getting the age from here. So now you can call this. So I'll create a method. I'll create an object and call the age. So let me run this. Yeah, now I think you should be able to see the name and the age. So name is Rahul, age is 35. Since you declared age as private, I'm not able to access that outside of the class. So if you want to access a private variable, that can be accessed with help of a method. So here, uh, so I created a method age. So this method is public because you didn't declare any uh, access specifier for the method. If you don't declare, by default it will be public. So this private variable you can access within that class. So inside this get age, I'm accessing this age variable. Then this is a public method. Now I can call that method outside the class. So this is the way you can access a private variable outside of the class. So you cannot access a private variable directly outside of the class, but you can do that by using a public method. So now this is about private variable and public variable or public access specifier. So now let us discuss one more access specifier, protected. So generally this protected will be used in the inherited child class. So let us see an example here. So now I am creating a class employee. So inside the employee class, so I am declaring a variable salary. So salary, it is of type number. And so let me create a constructor to initialize the value. So because we need constructors to initialize the variables. So yeah, this I'm setting salary here using the constructor. So now I'm creating one more class. So the class name is manager. So manager extends employee because manager is an employee. So whatever the variables and methods in employee class should also be applicable for manager class. So I'm extending employee to manager. So now inside the manager, I'm creating a class. Sorry, I'm creating a method. So to access the salary, show salary. So it is of type, return type is void. So I'm just printing the value. Yeah. So now, so currently it is public because I haven't declared any access specifier for salary. So by default, it is public. So now let me create an object for manager, constant manager equal to new manager. So I'm passing a salary of 10,000. So now I would say manager dot show salary. So it is accessible now since this is a public method. So now let me run this. So now you should print the salary, which is 10,000. You should print 10,000 to the console. Yeah, it is printing 10,000 to console. So as of now, this is public. So it is accessible throughout the project. So now I'll go and make this as protected. So the moment you made a variable as a protected, so now suppose if I directly access here, manager dot show salary, sorry, manager dot salary, it is not able to access. Now if I remove this, now try this dot, yeah, you can see I'm able to access salary variable here because initially it is public, so you can access outside of the class here because manager extends employee means so the salary variable also be given to manager. I'm creating an object for the manager. Now I'm able to access salary variable because as of now it is a public. So now I'll make this as protected. So as soon as you make that as protected, so it will not be able to access. So a protected variable or method can be accessible only in the child class. So employee is a parent class and here salary I have declared as protected. So that means this protected variable salary can be accessed only in the child class. So here manager is a child class. So here I am able to access salary. Okay. So that means if you declare something as public or if you don't specify any access specifier, by default it will be public and it can be accessed outside of the class and also inside the class. And if you declare a variable or a method as a private, so that is accessible only within that class. Outside of the class, you will not be able to access that. Then protected. So if you declare a variable or a method as a protected, then that can be accessed only in the child class. So outside of the child class, you will not be able to access that. So that is the difference between declaring private, public, and protected. So depending on the requirement, how you want to control the access, we need to use the appropriate access specifiers. So this is all about the access specifiers. So now let us discuss about errors in TypeScript. So first let us see what is an error. So let me create a new folder. So errors. Yeah. So now first let us discuss what is an error. Then we'll discuss like how to handle the errors. So let me create a new file. So now I would say no error handling. So now I'm not going to handle an error and let's see what happens. So first let us discuss what is an error. So now I'm creating a function. So yeah, the function name is divide and it is accepting two numbers. A is a number, B is also a number and its return type is number. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to return, I want to divide a number A with B and whatever the result I'll get, I wanted to give that result. So now I would say return A by B. Okay. So here divide is a function which is accepting two parameters A and B. So whatever the value passed to A and B, I am dividing A with B, and whatever the result you will get, we are returning that value. So now, what I will do one check here, because generally if you divide a number, let's say here I got B as 0. So it will become an infinite value, but that is not a valid value. So that's the reason. So I am trying to check if value of B equal to 0. So now I want to throw an exception. Throw new error cannot divide by 0, because you cannot divide a number using 0. Okay. So that's the reason I just created a function. The function is simply accepting two parameters A and B, both are of type integers. So now first I am checking if the value of B equal to 0 or not. If the value of B is 0, then this division is undefined. It is going to give an infinite value. So which is not a valid operation. That's why I'm throwing an error. Throw new error means it is going to give an error. And so if this is not 0, then we are calculating the dividend. We are dividing a number A with B, and whatever the result you will get, we are returning that value. So now let us call the method. So now I would say constant. So result equal to. So I'm calling this divide function. I'm passing 100 A and 10 as B. So now I want to print the result. Console.log. So let us print the result. And after this, I am writing one more statement. So program executed. So now here result equal to divide. We are passing A as 100, B as 10. So here this condition is true, because this condition is false. 100 equal to 0, this is false. Since this is false, it will come here and it will give you 100 by 10, which you will get 10. So it will print 10. So let me run this. So simply I'll get 10 to the console. So this is present in the errors. So navigate to errors. Then this is the first program. Let me run this. Now I should get the output as 10 and program executed. That is the result. Yes. So now I'm going to pass B value as 0. So now the problem is when the value of 100 will be passed to A and 0 will be passed to B. Since the value of B equal to 0, so now it is going to throw an error. So what is an error? So error is like an unexpected statement or some unexpected condition. So because of which your program exit unexpectedly. So if I run this, now I expect that here you are getting an error. Since there is an error occurring at the line number 12, then the rest of the two lines will not be executed, because at the line number 12, you are calling divide function with 100 and 0. So the control will go here, and here whenever the value of B equal to 0, it is giving an error, because you cannot divide a number with 0. Because of this, the program is throwing an error. Since the program is throwing an error, the problem is your program is exiting abruptly, and the rest of the code is not executed. So you are getting an exception at the line number 12 because of this function call. So after this line, there are two other lines of code. This is not getting executed because at the line number 12, I got an exception or I got an error. So because of this error, I am not able to continue further. So that is the problem with the errors. So whenever an error occurs in your code, so then if you don't handle the errors gracefully, your program will not be continued. The code will be ended abruptly. So that is what happened here. At the line number 12, So there is an error that is getting. So because of that error, the code after line number 12 is not getting executed. So this is what the error means. So because of this error, your code will not be executed after the line where you got the error. So this is not a good practice because ending the program abruptly is not a good idea. So we must have to handle these errors. The errors should be handled gracefully. So how to handle the errors? We can make use of try catch black to handle the errors. So how to handle the errors? Use a try black, write the code, then use a catch black. So here error, write the code here. So this is how you can handle the errors with the help of try catch black. So whatever the code that is giving an error, that code should go inside the try black. Then if you get an error, how to handle that? That code should go to the catch block. So then next line of code. So this is how you can handle the errors. You can make use of try catch black to handle the errors. So let us see how to handle the error here. So I'm going to create a new file, error handling. So now let me copy the same program here. So now I want to handle this error. So how to handle this error? So I'm going to keep the code in try catch black. So whatever the part that is actually throwing an error, that code can go inside a try black. So now in this case, so I'm getting an error here. So now I'll keep in this in try black, try. So now this will go in the try black. So immediately after this, I'll write a catch black. So catch black, it give type error unknown. Yeah. So now after this, you can write the code. Yeah. So now this is the line where we are getting exception or error. So this divide function when you call, so it is calling this and giving an exception here. So now whenever you provide or whenever you write this code inside the try block, so now if you get the error here, so then the control will go to the catch block. So whatever the error you get, so then the control will go to the catch block and whatever the error you will get, that will be captured here in the unknown variable in the error. So I'm giving type as unknown because by default I don't know like what type of errors we are getting, what type of errors it is throwing, we don't know. That's the reason we gave unknown. So now I'll print that value console.log. So exactly what we are getting, I'm printing this. So now I'm handling the error gracefully using try catch block. So whatever the code that throws the error, that code should go inside the try block. So immediately after try block, you should give a catch block. So if there is no error here, then catch block will not be executed. It will go to the next statement. If there is an error, then whatever the error, if there is an error here, then the control will go to the catch block, and here we are printing the error information. So this is the way how you can handle the errors using try catch block. So whatever the code that throws an error, that should go inside the try block. If you get the error, how to handle, that should go to the catch block. I'm writing the next statement here. So let me run this. What happened here? So this is the second program. So let me run this. Yeah, so now you can see here. So we got an error here because again you are dividing 100 with 0. I got an error here. The control go to the catch block and I am printing the error here. So it is giving the error information. After that you can see program executed. This statement has been printed because so here you have handled the exception or error gracefully. Since you have handled this properly, the rest of the code is able to continue. In the previous example, So you did not handle this error. So that is the reason this program executed did not print earlier, because the program has terminated here at the line number 12. So after line number 12, the code is not executed. But here, the whatever the error that throws, that has been kept in the try block, and there is a proper catch block that we have written. Since we got an error here, so it went to the catch block and printed the error information. So this is the error information. It's saying that cannot divide by 0, because you are trying to divide a number 100 with 0. It has thrown an error. So that error information we are getting. After that, the rest of the code has been executed. So that's the reason. The next line is program executed. So this has been executed. So this is how you can handle errors using try-catch block. So now in this case, actually here I'm giving a generic error message. This unknown is a generic one. But in TypeScript, if you take any error class, that is an instance of an error class. If you get any error, so there is a class error that is the parent of all the errors. Okay. So now what I will do is, so whatever the error I got, I'll check if that is an instance of error class or not. If that is the error class, then I'll print the message. So now if I try here, right, dot message, see here, when I print the error, it is giving the whole error, but I don't want whole error. I want only the reason for the error. If you want to call that message to get the reason for the error, you cannot get here because we don't know the type of error here. So that's the reason. So as I told you, every error is an instance of error class. So now I will check this. If error instance of error. So yeah, as I told you, right? So error is a parent class of all the errors. So there are different type of errors like file not found error and parse error. Whenever you are trying to parse an invalid file or invalid JSON file, you will get an error. Again, if you try to identify a file which whose path doesn't exist, then you will get path not found error. So all these are childs of the this error class. So now, if whatever the error that is thrown here is a child of error, why I'm using instance of? Instance of means, so generally instance is nothing but an object. So since error is the parent class of all the errors, so all the errors returned are instance of the error class. So that's the reason I'm checking if whatever the error that is given here is that is an object or instance of error class. So if that is the object of error class, I'll simply print error dot message. So it will give you the error message. So if that is not the instance, I would say this is an unknown error. So an unknown error, because so as I told you, by default, every error is a child of error class. If that is not child of error class, then that is going to be an unknown error. That's why I'm printing that. So yeah, let me run this. So now it should give the error message here. So error message is cannot divide by 0. That is the error message. Yeah. So we got the error message, whatever that is being thrown, then program is executed. So yeah, this is the way how you can handle the errors gracefully using try-catch block. So now there are some other use cases where let me show one example. So now, so I'm reading data from a database. So inside the try, I'm writing the code. So first I'm establishing a connection because I wanted to connect to a database. So here I have a requirement where I want to connect to a database and I want to get the data from the database. So if you want to connect to the database, first you need to create a connection. You need to write the code to connect to the database. Here, opening the connection, open the DB connection. then read the data from DB. So now, so I'm reading the data from the database. So once you read the data, close the connection, because if you open database connection, it is going to consume some system resources. So once our operation is done, we want to close the connection. So yeah, then again, I have a cache block. I'm writing the code here. Okay. So now, let's say, so initially the connection has been opened. After connection is open, then I'm reading the data. So let's say during the reading the data, there is some error happened. That can be anything. So while I'm trying to read the data, let's say the connection has been closed for some reason, or there is some network error happened. Because of that, I am not able to read the data and there is an error occurred. So as soon as the error occurred, what happens? Again, it will go to the cache black. Okay. And now the problem is, since an error occurred here, the next statement close the connection is not actually executed, because here we got an error. As soon as you get the error, the next line will not be executed. It will directly go to the cache block. The problem here is close connection. This code is not executed. So what happens if this code is not executed? Because in the first line, we already opening the connection to the database. That means we are consuming the resources. And now at the line number second error occurred, it did not close the connection. So if it did not close the connection, the resources are still open and those are unused. And if you try to open a new connection, it will give an error, because there are some connections which are open and those are not closed properly. So that means it is waste of resources. So we need to handle these kind of things very gracefully, because without error, whether error occurred or not, I want to execute this statement always, because irrespective of error, whether error occurred or not, I don't care. I want to close the connection always. That means I need to define some block which will be executed always. That is finally. So yeah, along with try catch, so there is one more block called finally. So the finally block will be executed always. So irrespective of there is an exception or not, it will be executed always. So the catch block will be executed only when there is an exception. Okay. But finally is not the case. Finally will be executed irrespective of the exception. Whether there is an exception or not, it doesn't care. The finally will be executed. So that is why usually whenever you have some requirement of closing the resources and shutting down some services, those kind of things should go to the finally block, so that it will close them gracefully, and it will be helpful to manage the resource gracefully. So now let me create one more class, sorry, one more file. So I would say error finally.ts. So now the same thing I'm going to give a finally black. So let me try this. So I'm using the same code. So I'm creating a finally black here. So here, finally console.log always executes, because the finally black will be executed always, irrespective of whether there is an exception or not. So yeah, I'll give 10 here. And now there will be no error that will occur here. Since there is no error, this cache block will not be executed. It will print 10, then come here, always executes will be printed and program executed. So now we should print 10, always executes and program executed. Because always executed is in finally black. Now I did not get any error. The finally is executed. Now I'll give 0. Now also I expect finally black should be executed. Okay, yeah. So this is the use of finally black. So generally we use finally black to close the resources or close the file streams or to close the database connections, we use finally black. So if you want to shut down some resources or close some resources, then give finally black. So far we have discussed what is an error and how an error can be handled using try catch black. And we discussed about the finally black. So finally will be executed always, irrespective of whether an error occurred or not. So now I wanted to throw some custom errors because sometimes in your program or during your coding, so you might need to use some custom errors. You have to throw some custom errors. If something is not met the condition or if it is not met the required rule, then I want to end that and throw some error. So now let's say I want to create a class. So I want to check if an user is eligible to vote or not. The user is eligible to vote only if age is greater than 18. So I want to check age is greater than or 18 or not. If the age is greater than 18, I'll print that the user is eligible to vote. If the age is if the age is not greater than 18, I want to throw an error saying that age must be 18 or above. So this error I want to throw custom error. So this is not something that we will get, but I want to build an error on on my own. So I want to create a custom error. So generally, how you can create a custom error? So if you want to create a custom error, you need to use the error class. So let us try this. I think we may not use this very frequently in our playwright sessions, but it is better to understand what is an error and what different errors we will get, how to handle the errors. So it is better to know. So now I'm creating a class is error extends error. Because if you want to create a custom error, then you should your error should extend the error class. So here, this is my class age error. This is my class. I'm extending error. So this is my error class which I am implementing. This error is a super class of all the errors. So whenever you want to implement a custom error, then your error must or your class must extend the error class. So now I'll create a constructor. So yeah, message because I want to give a message while throwing the error. So that message you need to send. So super of message, I'm calling the super class because super of message means it will call the super class constructor with that message. So I'm giving the name of the error as age error. So this is how you can define a custom error. So how to define a custom error? You can simply extend your error class with the error class. So age error extends error. Age error is your custom error. Error is this super class of all the errors. You need to extend your custom error with error class. And you need to pass some kind of message while throwing the error. So for that reason, I'm keeping a constructor. Call the super class constructor by using the super class super keyword. Then I'm giving a name as age error for the error I'm throwing. So now, so I want to check, I want to create a function which is going to check the age function. So I'll give name as check age. So yeah, it will return void. So now, let's say it is accepting age as input. So now what I will do is if age is greater than or equal to 18, let's say what I will do, I'll print eligible to vote. If not, if that is not the case, so then I'll throw an exception. So I will say throw new. What is your custom exception? No age error. Age error is our custom error. So I'm throwing a new error. So what is the message? Is must be over 18 or above, let's say. So here I'll check over 18. So this is the custom error. Now, when I call this check case function, it will check if the age is 18 or not. If the age is greater than 18, it will print eligible to vote. If not, it will throw a custom error. Age must be 18 or above. Because if the age is not greater than 18, I don't want to continue further. So that's the reason we are giving a custom error here. So now let me call this check case 20. I'll give here. So now it will print eligible to vote. Yeah, because the age is greater than 18. Now I'll give 17. It will throw an error because you are explicitly throwing an error. So this should be 4. Now you should throw an error, the age error, because the age is not greater than 18. So it is throwing an error. What is the error? Age must be over 18 or above. The age must be 8 over. This is fine. Must be over 18. Okay. So this is how you can throw your custom errors in TypeScript. So just extend your error class to using the error class, which is a super class. Yeah, so this is all about errors in TypeScript.